Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Dr. Princess Fumi Hancock. People know me as your global vision midwife. Others call me your compassionate underscore. Yeah, that's right. Your compassionate trauma care maestro. And of course, I'm a board certified mental health, psychiatric mental health doctor of nurse practice with group of clinics in Arizona. And of course, we do telepsychiatry too, so that's good. That's a good thing. So as we walk towards coming out of pandemic, right? America as a whole has dealt with a lot, and the world at large, really. With America, I think we're probably about 500 and something thousand people, almost 600,000 people that we've lost. And I'm not even sure if there's anybody that I've not heard of, someone that they knew that knew somebody, because for me, as a clinician, I've literally had people that have passed. Personally in my life, people that I've heard of, that I've known before, that I was called and said, oh, that person passed. So I've had to deal with that. And more importantly, I've had to deal with that with a lot of my patients right now that they've lost parents, they've lost children, they lost children. Yes, children, lost parents, lost grandparents. A whole family wiped out. Some that the whole family almost got wiped out, including them. So there is a lot of grief going on. And so as much as we want to start opening up and saying to people, it's time to go back to work. It's time to do this. Oh, yes, we're excited. The vaccine is working and all these kind of things. But here's the deal. We do not have vaccination for mental illness, period. Bam. Right? There's no vaccination for it. So we cannot just gloss over it and ignore that mental illness is a part of all these things that's going on. And in fact, mental illness is the next wave of pandemic. And if we do not start to talk about it now, it's going to become the biggest one that we would not be able to deal with because there's no vaccination for mental illness. So part of the ways that we deal with it too is also to talk about grief. Grief. Because how do you begin to deal with somebody who is depressed over all of this when you're not even acknowledging that they're grieving over the lost one, somebody that they lost, the loved one that they love. So today I wanted to talk about some tips for helping your friend, your loved one cope with grief. Now, I don't know about you, right? I don't like it when people tell me, I understand, take heart, I understand, pray hard, think hard, do this hard, do that, all that kind of stuff. When I'm in pain, I don't appreciate it. I can tell you that much. And I've had series of times of my life where I've really been in pain. And when people tell me, oh, believe me, I understand, the first thing I want to say is, no, you don't. No, you don't, because everybody's situation is different. So how about just starting with that? Don't come at your friend or your loved one saying you understand, because no, you don't. Even within the family, if a family is grieving, if 2 or 3 people are grieving in the family, each person grieves differently, right? So when you come at me and say, I understand, it kind of throws me off right there and say, perhaps what I just need for you to do at this moment is just be quiet. You can hold my hand and be quiet and just listen, right? So experiencing loss in any capacity can result in a whirlwind of emotions. I mean, like a mood swings. Today you feel you're good with it. Tomorrow it's something else. I can tell you, because when we lost my mother-in-law, I cried my eyes out. There are certain things that she gave us before she passed, right? And I'm looking at one of it in front of me right now, like a doll, like this dog. That's a doll. And every time I look at that, I think about my mother-in-law and I just well up and I still well up over it. All right. And I still well up over it. I don't know if it ever goes away, but I think you get to a point where you try to start thinking about the great things that they did when they were alive. And maybe that helps you to understand the grief a little bit. So with grief comes sadness, it comes anger, it comes intense pain. Those are actual feelings that people feel when they are grieving. So it's important that when we come to them, either you say you are a Christian or you are a believer or not a believer, whatever you call yourself, you don't want to interject yourself on them, right? The key to getting through these difficult times is to have someone who can provide you with support, someone who can provide you, right, with support, who is emotional, who understands, right, that this is a difficult time for you. Might not understand what you're going through, but understand that this is a tough time for you, right? So it's important that you understand your friend, your loved ones' grief. Understand it. If you have experienced loss of anything at all, a dog, a cat, a person, then you would know that it's very, very painful. Grief is the process that we go through when we experience a major loss in our lives. That's the definition, right? And this may be a loss of someone that is close to us. It may be a loss of a job. It may be a loss of anything that we love. It may be the loss of a dog, a cat, uh, companion, whatever. Whatever it is that you hold dear to you, right? And when you lose it, you grieve over it. When you lose a relationship, you grieve over it. When you lose a marriage, there's grieving process that goes on. And of course, they do talk to you a little bit. A lot of times out there, they talk about all the stages, right? All the stages of grieving. And you'll talk about first you are in denial about the grief. And then, and by the way, you can grieve over sickness too, right? You talk about denial and then you deny it for a little bit and then you're angry about it. And then you're angry about it, then you start bargaining. Oh my God, if you do this, if you do this, I'll never do this again. Then you feel like, okay, you've been bargaining for quite some time and this mountain is not moving. Then you get depressed over it. Then with the depression, it's like, okay, it doesn't seem like it's ever going to move. Then you begin to move into acceptance of that situation. This is a fairly a well-known process of grieving. So when does grief become something that is more problematic? When it becomes complicated, right? It becomes complicated when you have many of the symptoms of depression, right? When depression starts setting into it, it becomes complicated. All right. And this is something that we do not want to get to, where we start getting very depressed. We don't want to get out of bed. We don't want to do anything. The things that made us happy before, suddenly it means nothing to us. We have difficulty falling asleep. We have difficulty staying asleep. We are irritated. We're agitated. We're angry. I mean, all kinds of emotion. All right. So what are the tips? What are the tips that we can use to help support one another in this? Reach out regularly to that person, right? Uh, all they just need to know is, how are you doing? Just that statement alone. How are you doing? And let them lead that conversation. Don't lead them through anything. Let them lead that conversation. All right. Find ways to help that person, right? Find ways to help them out as they navigate the grief process. So how do you do that? You say, well, is there anything I could do? Is there anything I could do for you? Right? Is there anything? How are you holding up? Second, is there anything that I can do for you? Now, when you ask, then you need to listen, right? You just don't want to ask and then run into telling them, oh, these are the things you need to do. This and that. I know somebody who did this, so this is what you should do. This is what, oh, I know what I did during my own situation. This is what you should do. No, listen more than you speak, all right? And just let them know, I'm here for you. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. And of course, encourage them to do fun things that will help to take their mind away from that grief. I know this is a hard one because, there are times, depending on the stage that they're in, They don't want to deal with anything. They can't even see themselves going out to do anything without that person or without the dog but it's important that we encourage them. And by encouragement, it says you are kind of nudging them, right? Would you like to go somewhere? If you want to go somewhere, would you like to go here? Would you like me to go with you? I can be your companion for it today. Would you like to? And if they say no, then don't back off. Don't push hard, but just back off, right? Then feel free to give your friend that space, right? Back off. Once you've done that, then you back off and you say, well, you know what? I will reach out to you later, but here's my number. Here's this. You can call me anytime or whatever the case may be. I'm here for you. I want you to hear this. I am here for you. So when we can do all this, these are just tips that we can use to help those who are grieving. Until next time, be inspired, be motivated, be of sentimental value. Understand that you are the hero. You, my friend, you are the hero in your life story. Do not allow anybody to write your story in a funky way. Until next time, see you. Bye-bye now.